the Leeds Saints, then followed by the Wigan St Helens, was, you built it up and, again, second halves took it, were the deciding factor, weren't they? The Hull KO Huddersfield game, maybe not so exciting.
But I think that was always it was always going to be the third fiddle of the piece. That's not even a phrase. I don't even know where I've got that from. But there was always going to be a game that's going to have, I think for me, the least interest, even though it was probably going to always, I thought on paper it should have been a closer game than it was.
Yeah.
But credit to Huddersfield for absolutely smashing Hull KR off the park in that one.
Isn't it nice that just another team are going to a final? I know that's really, again, a cliche kind of mythical approach to how I see rugby league, but it's just nice. It is, isn't it? It's like, do I think that Huddersfield can outdo Wigan? Depends on how the next couple of rounds go, doesn't it?
Jermaine McGilvey's never played in a final for Huddersfield. He's been there for 100 years.
And that's wicked. And that's what I love about it. Yeah. And how the teams manage the next 2 weeks are going to be very crucial, aren't they?
Especially as they play each other on Thursday. That's going to be a bit cat
and mouse.
But I think that's great, isn't it? Do you not think that's a bit of a fairy tale kind of?
Oh, it's perfect.
Here's a taster.
Yeah. I think the other thing is it'd be really interesting to see how Wigan cope with the final, because they were going in as underdogs a little bit against St Helens. They had a little bit of a swagger about them over the way they played since Good Friday. Saints had suffered a couple of injuries. And I think Wigan know that, but for a stray pass, which is not to blame Johnny Lomax, because how the hell he was out there in the first place, I have no idea. Yeah. But literally it was a stray pass from St Helens that gave Wigan the opportunity to get reward for what they'd done in the first half. But literally it was, as Lou McCarthy-Scarsbrook said afterwards, the toss of a coin between the two teams. But Wigan will go into the final as favourites against Huddersfield. Yeah. And I think that makes Huddersfield really dangerous. I think the way they played against Hull KR was almost perfect semi-final football. And that was exemplified when Theo Farge dropped a goal at 24-0. I don't think there was any disrespect in that at all. I think we need to know what we need to do to close out games in the most professional manner we can. There's something about Ian Watson. He's got a little bit to prove now. I've taken another team to a final, but I've got to get them over the line. I think, Chris Hill's been a magnificent leader for them. So I think it's going to be a more interesting final than being able to say for certain, there's a favourite and an underdog. I'm looking forward to it. I think Huddersfield was sensational. I think the interesting thing for Hull KR on the back of it is that they've announced their coach this evening for 2023. Now, we are not here as rumour mongers in any way whatsoever, but I think quite a few people were talking about it before the semi-final, but because of what Tony Smith has said about not staying on, that if Hull KR lost, would he step down early? And when you read between the lines of the Hull KR press release about Willie Peters joining them, yes, it says 2023, but he's going to be involved in retention, recruitment. He's going to be hands-on now, even though he might be 12. I think that's an indication that he might be here before the end of the season.
Yeah, so it's also on the rumour, isn't it, that's the whole thing with Tony Smith at the minute and the recruitment and retention thing. So he's wiped his hands of it anyway. So somebody needs to do it. And I hope for Tony's sake, I think he's a good bloke. Obviously, I don't know him, but chatted to him a few times. But yeah, you're not the chance to cut you bowed out of that pretty, I'd say badly for Hull KR. The way they have been playing recently anyway, that wasn't expected. They've had a really good run up to now. But for the boys, and whether for whatever reason you're stepping down or you're retiring or whatever, I think you have a duty to the lads. And if you don't need to step down and it's not been forced, maybe I'm a bit old school, but I think I'd hope that he'd stay in. If his hand's not forced to leave, then I'd hope he'd last it out. But
I just thought it was really interesting timing. I know that certain media outlets were saying it's going to be Willie Peters, but I suspect that that's because Hull KR were briefing on it being Willie Peters, or his agent was in a position where he could let that information out because it was going to be announced. I just think that them announcing it, having lost the semi-final, is not necessarily to deflect from that performance. I think it's more to say, we might be able to bring him in earlier. But
Yeah.
we shall see. That's a rumour we've just started.
I think it'd be well worth, by the way, if you've not heard Ian Watson's comments after the game, he was in fine form in the press conference. I stuck it up, edited on YouTube, as was Jermaine McGilvey, and especially in answer to questions from Gary Carter about Super League and why the crowds at Huddersfield aren't where they were in the past. And he says some very interesting things about the state of the competition and licensing and youngsters being given a go and this, that, and the other. And it's interesting to hear it from a player rather than. And I know players have a vested interest, but this is Jermaine McGilvey, who's coming towards the end of his career. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. It was interesting to hear someone speak so openly just after helping his team to a final with a great try, great individual try as well. Well, some of the defence may have been suspect on that, but a great individual try from him. Very interesting words from him and great questions from Gary Carter. Get the answers out of him as well. I'll put that up on YouTube now as well, so you can watch that at your leisure.